Hi, and welcome to another week of the Working Mom podcast. I am excited to be here. Today I have my very first guest on my podcast. It is my husband. And some of you might be thinking, you're a working mom and your podcast is about working moms. Why are you having your husband on? Well, when you hear this, it will be Valentine's Day. And so I thought that I would talk to my husband a little bit, share a little bit about our relationship and how he supports me as a working mom, and just kind of see where it goes. I also have an announcement. I will be working on getting a YouTube channel for the Working Mom podcast. So I'm currently videotaping it and giving it a trial run. If it goes well, it will be up on YouTube. So search the Working Mom or the Working Mom podcast. I will put a link in my description so you can find out which one it is. But yeah, my husband, his name is Scott, and he's here. Scott, say hi.
Hi, everyone.
He's an introvert. He doesn't like this stuff, but he supports me and he loves me. So we're gonna see how it goes. And our cat is currently on his lap, and he is not a cat person. So this is just going great already. So introduce yourself to the people who are listening.
I'm Sandy's husband. We've been married for about 10 years now. It's been fun. As far as myself, I don't really know what to talk about. So
he is currently finishing up his degree in accounting. He should be graduating in May, which we're really excited about. It's been a long road of school, and we're ready for him to be done and graduated. And yes, he is right. We've been married 10 years in September.
Right, so I got it right.
We have 2 kids together. He is an excellent dad, an excellent supporter. He really does. He's an awesome guy. He supports me 100% in pursuing this podcast and going after my dreams. And
that is the entire reason I'm
yes.
doing this, is because I support Sandy and what she's doing here. Otherwise, I would never do a podcast or a YouTube video. He's
a sound guy, so he sits in the back booth and hopes that no one sees him in the shadows at church, just controlling the sound. And he's one of those behind the scene guys that we need. We don't need a whole bunch of people all the time saying, "Yay, here I am," and he is definitely not one of those guys. But we started dating when we were in high school, and I was actually dating someone else, and
I did not aggressively.
He didn't actively pursue me while I was dating someone else. But I liked him, and I knew I was in the process of breaking up with my current boyfriend for reasons that I won't get into on this episode. But I really liked Scott. He was different than all of the other men. I can't say men. I was in high school. The other boys that I dated. Because he had an immense amount of respect for me. He opened the doors. He wanted to pay for things. And we weren't even dating. And that's our dog in the background scratching. Because it's really, really dry here. Yep, this is my life. Angus, stop. And yeah, we're just being real here. So anyway, he was just a gentleman, and he was really nice, and he had a lot of respect for me, which was something that I hadn't experienced a whole lot of before. So we actually met at junior prom, when my, at the time, best friend was kind of into him. And it transpired healthy. I didn't steal anyone. He was not into her. She was a great person and a really good friend. He wasn't into her. And I was dating someone else, so I wasn't really thinking about it until I knew I was going to break up with that person. And we had become friends, and we spent a couple of nights playing games with some friends. And eventually I'm a very blunt person, and I just asked him, "Do you like me?"
To which I replied it didn't matter because she had a boyfriend.
Because he was very respectful. But I was like, if I didn't have a boyfriend, do you like me? At which he said, yes, he did. So anyway, I ended the relationship, and there were, I don't know, a couple weeks or so where I didn't have a boyfriend, and we actually went to a camp. I guess you could call it camp. It's like a cabin.
It's a cabin. Your dad's coworker's cabin.
Yeah. And so he had like this is like as far as his romance goes, by the way.
Not very far, as you'll soon see.
And he had this whole idea that he was going to take me out, and it also kind of sounds creepy at the same time now, but if you knew him, it doesn't sound creepy. He was going to drive me out into the middle of nowhere under the stars and ask me out, but he ended up asking me out while we were at the cabin, which I was just waiting and dying for him to ask me out. And so, I mean, I could have asked him out, but if you know Scott, he needed to ask me out. And I'm also his very first girlfriend. So... Probably
only.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Since we're married, I am your only girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, that's when our relationship started, and that was the year before we started our senior year in high school.
Yep.
So, it was pretty fun. So we are high school sweethearts, and then we were going to college, trying to figure out life, and we decided in a conversation, actually, we never had an actual proposal or anything. We just had this sit-down conversation about where we wanted our lives to go. And we just decided we wanted to be with each other forever, and we didn't see the point in waiting until we were done with certain events in our life to get married. So we got engaged in 2008, May of 2008, and we just went to the store together. We picked out rings, and it was official. We were engaged, and we got the wedding planned in 5 months. And September 20th of 2008, we were married, and we were 20.
Should add, it's one of my biggest regrets of our relationship that I didn't actually propose. Because, you know, couples talk about those types of things together when they hang out, or when you're just getting to know a new group of married couples, and we don't really have a great story to share, because I guess I feel I was too much of a coward to actually propose in a romantic way.
No, I don't think you're a coward. I think we just had a conversation, and it was kind of done. It was not like I had to wait for that. But we were really young. And so I need to talk about when you had a second chance to propose. Remember Christmas? So he got a pretty decent bonus, and he knew he was going to, and he had planned. I was actually pregnant with McLaren at the time. I think I was only about 3 months along or so. He went to the jewelry store and got the ring that I'm currently wearing. And I did not know that he was going to do this. And he had some plan of trying to propose to me and make the proposal happen. And you were so nervous. When you walked in the door, you were like shaking. You were so afraid I wouldn't, not shaking like you were scared, like out of your mind.
That I didn't know if you would like the ring or not.
Right, but you were so like nervous, and instead of doing the proposal like he was planning in his head, he actually was like, "Do you want an early Christmas present?" And
which is the only time I've ever done that in our relationship.
He calls me a Christmas killer because I tend to try and guess what my presents are or try and figure them out, and so he calls me a Christmas killer. But this year he walked into the house and said, "Do you want to open your Christmas present early? Or do you want an early Christmas present?" As I replied, yes. And from behind his back, he pulled out a tiny little box wrapped perfectly. That at that point I kind of thought would be a ring, but at the same time I was like, he's always wanted to propose to me and kind of make up that point in his life. So I was like, well, maybe it's not a ring, maybe it's earrings or something like that. And I opened it, and it's a very, very pretty ring. It's very personal. I fell in love with it right away because it has a middle diamond that was much, much bigger than the tiny little one that we got when we were first married. But it has 3 diamonds on each side, and then it has 2 sapphires on each side, one on each side of the main diamond in the middle, because we got married in September and our daughter was born in September and my birthday's in September. So he actually put a lot of thought into the ring that he picked out. So it was very meaningful to me, and I actually could still fit into the ring at that point. I was really worried because I was pregnant and I tend to swell quite a bit in my fingers when I'm pregnant, that I wasn't going to be able to wear it very long. And I think I wore it until 8 months, which was a record, because about 3 or 4 months with my daughter, my ring no longer fit, and I couldn't fit into it until 9 months postpartum. So I was a little worried I wasn't going to get to wear my ring, but I did. So, and it's very pretty and I love it. And that was I guess the second. It wasn't super romantic, but it was really thoughtful.
That's about as good as I get.
Yeah. So he used to be more romantic when we were dating, and I don't know, he was trying to impress me. But you made me dinner for homecoming. And
spaghetti.
Yes, spaghetti, which is my
favorite
meal, and we also had at our wedding. And you also you danced with me. And I used to do these videos, and sometimes I still do. They're on my personal YouTube page. It's called Vita or Veda, depending on where you are. And he used to be in my videos, and he really...
I think I was only ever in 1 or 2.
No, you were in more. I have proof.
Okay.
But he would do nice things. And he still opens the door, and he's still, our money is together now, so I guess technically you do pay for things now. But
yeah.
Anyway, he is not a big romantic, which we were just talking about today. What the heck is going on for Valentine's? And he's like, well, I was going to ask you what you wanted to do.
Oh, that's not true.
What
I
happened
said I was
then?
going to get you a massage.
Oh, that's true. You
and
did
then
say
we would
that.
coordinate on the date.
Yeah,
which is very
what
different
I wanted
than what
to
you
do.
just presented.
Yeah, yes, that wasn't intentional, but you did say that, and then you were like, well, I was going to ask you what you wanted to do for the date. And I was like, it's kind of...
I don't think I ever said that.
Yeah, I have the text. This is our life. He's going to pull it up to prove me wrong. Well, we actually made a joke earlier. Because it's a snow day today. I actually didn't work today because the kids, my daughter didn't have school, and I couldn't even get out of the driveway. And he didn't go to work until he got to work around 11, because that's when he was finally able to get out of the driveway. And he texted me when he got to work, and he said he had a typo about having to stay with Kate, stay Kate, because he came in late. And I'm like, I don't know who Kate is, but I don't think you need to be spending time with her. But he meant late, obviously. So what did I say? What did the text say?
So the text ended up saying, I was planning on getting you a massage, and you said where and when. And I said the running why, about the only place I would trust in town. I was going to talk to you about what date you would want, referring to what date of the massage you would want.
That makes so much sense.
So that we would coordinate it together. Because I can't keep track of your schedule, let alone both of ours. So
I thought you meant about a date,
no,
like a date.
No.
So it was even less in depth than I thought it was, because you were just talking about the massage.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to take me on a date.
And
then you wanted to know anyway. Anyway, apparently we're not going on a date. But I'll take a massage any day, hands down. And he knows that.
Uh-huh.
I've said, if you get me a massage for anything and everything, I will always love it. But anyway, so a lot of people make these big plans for Valentine's, and I actually have to work. We have a dance for our... if you don't know what I do and you're just joining this podcast, I I'm a business office manager for a senior living that offers independent assisted living and memory care, which we call Connections for Living. So we are actually having a dance for our some of our residents that night, and I am a leader on deck, so I have to be there and enjoy the time, which is totally fine because I'm all about doing date nights on the weekend instead. So we usually just, if we do something for Valentine's, we move it to the weekend anyway. So, well, that's probably... it's Valentine's Day today when we're actually recording this, and it's such a bummer because I didn't get to have Valentine's. I kind of had it with our daughter because we made her Valentine's for her class today.
Valentine's isn't real.
But it is real. It is real. If you watch Parks and Rec and you know what Valentine's is, you know it's fun, or you just kick it with your lady friends.
That's just hanging out with friends.
Yeah, but you have a purpose. You talk about your friendship, and you eat waffles. And
don't you do that except for the waffles, don't you do that anyway when you hang out with your friends?
I do, but it's a special day. Just like Valentine's, I hang out with you every day.
So on Saturday when you go with whoever you're going with?
No one has said they're going yet, so...
That'll be your Valentine's Day?
Yes, I said I want to have a belated Valentine's Day. There's a wine tasting at a local pizzeria that does some really good beer and wine tastings every now and then. So I wanted to get some girlfriends together and go because he doesn't drink wine, and I do, so might as well get some girls together and go. But people might be doing their Valentine's that night too. So
middle of the week is really inconvenient.
It really is. And Thursday our daughter has dance too, so you're pretty busy with that. Oh, you just remembered that it's Valentine's and she has dance. This is great. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit before we wrap this podcast up about your support for me as a working mom. When we were dating, I was working, and when we got married, I was working, and there was a period of time where actually you weren't because you got laid off because we got married right in the midst of the recession in Sacramento. So many people lost their jobs, and we both actually ended up at different points during the recession not having work, which was really a bummer. But he has always supported anything that I've done. And then when we had kids, when we had our first kid, I actually quit to stay at home with my daughter, and then he got laid off again, which was a huge blow because there was no income coming in, and you were the only one that could claim unemployment until we could find work. And then you had the child care, and it was a mess. It was a real mess. But he's been very supportive. There was a period of time when I got laid off in 2014, right after Christmas. In January, I used to work for Old Republic Title Company, and there was a really big layoff, and I was part of that because I was one of the newer ones brought on board, so I was one of the first ones to go, and I got a princess gig. I used to be a professional princess. I played Cinderella and Elsa and Anna for this private company. Never Jasmine. I know, I'm way too white for this, for that. I always played all the super pasty characters. But anyway, he supported me through that, and we've been through a lot together in the past 10 years, and he is super supportive about this podcast and about me being a working mom. He always steps up. He's also one that he never has to babysit the kids ever. It's never in his mind that
they're my kids.
Yeah, I see.
I like have fun with them.
He says it.
We build forts.
Yes, you do.
What could be better?
And before forts, you played Lincoln Logs and Legos.
Cars.
Yes.
I love cars.
Yes. You too. So he's always been really supportive, and if you listen to my last episode, there was a period of time where I considered if my time was going to be worth this podcast, and he said, I think you need to give it more time, and that was a big push for me, and now I'm going to go for it, and he is on board with this, and he's just a supportive guy, so I wanted to bring him on to this podcast as my first guest and as my test to my YouTube page that I'm going to make tonight after we're done recording. And again, I'll put the links in that. But I'm going to get multi-platform, I guess you could say, multiple platforms with this podcast. So soon you'll be able to watch it on YouTube. I'm going to be creating a website in the near future, hopefully with blog posts to follow, content for support for working moms, and just avenues you can reach out to make you not feel guilty and to support you in the journey as a working mom. Most of us need 2 incomes now, otherwise we would stay at home, but at the same time, some of us just really like to work and we're really good at what we do, so we work anyway.
You've gone back and forth on
that.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely been times, I think the overall goal has always been to kind of get you to a point where you could stay home, but as you've worked, and especially as you've come into your own with your current position, it's been more of a push to stay working, especially as the kids get older, and there's less of a need for you to be at home.
I think the goal now would be more flexibility with continuing to work in whatever capacity that is.
Well, that's part of why I support this podcast so much, is because for so long, so much of our relationship, it has been dictated by the amount of debt we're carrying and the jobs that we have to take. Whereas this is a new venture for both of us to take, where you can actually do something that you want to pursue. Whereas we're just, rather than just taking what we have to take.
I think we're both at that point now where you're really happy with where you are, and I'm happy with where I am at work, and we're in higher roles. We've really worked our butts off to get where we are, and then it's paid off in where we work and the responsibilities, and we've just grown so much in the past 4 years. I mean, we've grown over our whole relationship, but career-wise, in the last 4 years, they've been...
Well, especially just our actual relationship since moving to Oregon was...
Yeah, when we moved from California to Oregon...
Because I was a bonehead.
Yeah, we won't go into that, but he didn't do anything catastrophic, but there was a lot of...
tension.
Yeah, to say the least, and... some things we had to work on when you move outside of your circle, and maybe some of you have done this. You have moved from one state to another, and we didn't know anybody here. We just really felt like God opened the door, and we had been trying to get out of California for so long for financial reasons, and we were struggling there, so we moved from California to Oregon. It was a really an open door. We walked through, and we knew nobody. 0 people, friends, family, nothing. So we just kind of leaped in, and you don't realize the support system you had and outlets you had prior, and then all of a sudden it's just you two. And I'm very extrovert, so that was slightly difficult for me. I made friends, but I didn't have the closeness of friends that, kind of fills my cup, as to where you can be for hours and days and weeks all by yourself without talking to another soul, and you would be completely fine. If I were out in the woods
by myself for weeks, that'd be amazing.
His dream before a girlfriend and before he was gonna essentially be this mountain man living up on a hill with like 20 dogs.
A hermit. It was going to be 4. Let's not exaggerate.
I feel like you said it was more than that.
No.
But anyway, he was just going to be all by himself, and I came in and wrecked all his plans. And...
Well, you certainly improved it.
But anyway, yes, I really hope that all of you have a support system like I have with my husband. And if you don't, please make sure you use the resources that I'm going to be putting up soon once I get the website going, and reaching out to friends and church members, and get a mentor that's an older, not necessarily older, but maybe in life ahead of you, that can walk you through some of these hard times, and you just know that you're not alone and that you can do this, and there's no shame and there's no guilt, because the world has changed drastically so much. Most of us do have to work. There's a small percentage of us that of us moms that are able to stay at home, and we just do what we got to do, and we support each other every step of the way. So I'm really excited for the things to come, and I'm thankful that my husband was here. As much as he was like half-hearted into it all day, I'm pretty sure he was thinking about not wanting to do this, but he did it because he loves me and he supports me. And so thank you for being my very first guest on the Working Mom podcast.
No problem.
And I will hopefully hear from you guys on social media and see you next week.